Let me help orient you into what InfoSum does and the broader data collaboration industry. I joined InfoSum in 2020, and that was after being a customer of InfoSum. So I had a challenge when I worked at AT&T running Xandr, where all of our best-selling products were addressable TV and video products, but in order to sell them, we had to compare our data set to our customers' data set. And we became increasingly uncomfortable with doing that through intermediaries because of privacy and security concerns inside the telco. So we set about on a journey to understand how we could better control the data that we had and still partner effectively with advertisers and agencies without putting that data at risk and without using black box type services in the middle. At the time in 2020, the term data clean room hadn't really been invented, and we were in the data collaboration industry. I think now that we fast forward a few years and people are talking a lot about clean rooms, it's both a good thing and a bad thing. We use these terms to better understand what a particular piece of technology does, and I think that the data clean room moniker does that okay, it does an okay job of that. But I think the danger of that, the danger of putting a box around a bunch of companies and calling them data clean room companies, is that there are differences. And there are differences between what's a data store, what's an analytics platform, what is meant to be privacy enhancing technology, what's just a collaboration, like a layer of collaboration or reporting on top of different data stores. So there's a lot of nuance in the industry, and we don't have time to get into it in this interview, but what I would say is the best way to learn about data collaboration and clean rooms is first figure out what challenge you're facing or what opportunity you're trying to realize. And then get into the technology, because different technologies will serve different purposes.
And in your case, what are customers coming to you? What use case are they coming to you most for? What problem are you really solving?
Yeah, so in the media world, it's really planning, activation, and measurement. Originally, we were very active on the supply side of the industry. So we were founded in the UK, and as a result of that, we have big media companies in the UK who use us exclusively to sell addressable media. So ITV and Channel 4, as examples, are partners of ours, and they use us to help plan campaigns, activate and measure those campaigns, but they do that in coordination with their agency partners and advertisers. So a really simple use case for InfoSum in that market and in the US and others is if I'm an advertiser and I know what audience I'm trying to reach inside of your marketplace or inside of your inventory, I don't have to give that audience to a third party anymore in order to understand the overlap between my audience and your viewers. I use the InfoSum platform to match that audience against your audience, and without ever having to combine or commingle customer data, I now know I can run a campaign inside of your marketplace of 3, 4, 5 million of my customers, depending on who those customers are.
There's been a lot of discussion here, depending on your definition of a clean room, or whether they should be open or not. Is that something that's important to you, and why is that significant?
Yeah, I think there need to be standards, obviously, and we've been active in developing actually 2 different sets of standards. Google has a standard called PAIR, and we're a partner to Google in developing that standard. Then the IAB has their own standard for clean room interoperability. I don't envision a marketplace where there are dozens and dozens of clean rooms, all with their own methodologies. So standards are absolutely important. But what I would say is, coming back to the earlier point, if you're really specific in what you want to do with the clean room, you can actually develop new strategies on the buy side, new products on the sell side, that will interoperate really nicely, actually, with the rest of the ecosystem. What we hear a lot in the States, but not as much in other parts of the world, is we're going to be agnostic. We're going to work with all clean rooms. And that's fine, and that's a perfectly good strategy. But you first have to understand what exactly you want to use them for, and then you can design a system around interoperability.
Are those differences in different parts of the world because of regulatory pressure, or is it just the market is that much further evolved?
Both. I think, because of the GDPR in Europe, European and UK-based publishers have had to be much more progressive with how they sell addressable advertising, and they take privacy much more seriously as a result of the GDPR. I would say one thing that's happened there that's a good trend is I don't think they do it so much because of the GDPR as much as they think it's better business at this point. And I think the US will follow along on that trend. There's legislation, obviously. We'll see if we get federal legislation in the US, but certainly we'll have a patchwork of state privacy legislation. There's also cookie deprecation and the deprecation of other persistent identifiers. But what will really push this market forward in the US is when CEOs, not just CMOs, take privacy seriously. And I think that'll happen on both sides, both media companies and advertisers. It's not long before we get a big CMO or CEO of a consumer products company who says, we're not going to allow our customer data into the ecosystem anymore. There's a better way of doing this. We can still be a big buyer and be engaging our consumers without having to use dozens of intermediaries when it comes to our customer data. So that's what'll push it along in addition to the legislation.